How to save on building and cleaning maintenance. Well, COVID has impacted so many businesses, particularly in Queensland. And one industry that has really suffered in the last 12 months is the club industry, which relies on many people attending and enjoying themselves in a fun-filled atmosphere. To talk about how they are restructured their club in the cleaning area and the building maintenance in relation to COVID, and have improved the services of their club, even though COVID impacted them greatly, we're joined on the line by the General Manager of Greenbank RSL, and his name is Tim Wright, and he joins us. Hello, Tim. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Ken.
So take us through the impact COVID had on your club and what changes you had to make.
Yeah, so COVID was devastating, probably in a number of factors there, but mainly for the staff and the community. So not having a lot of lead-in time to the mandatory closure for near on 3 month period from March until June last year was very damaging to staff morale, community support, as well as the profitability and efficiency of the club. The benefits that came from that, though, was a complete relook at everything that we did, utilising the support of our key contractors and obviously CMBM are one of our major contractors here to restructure the business to make sure that we were getting the best service possible to ensure a well-presented and hygienically clean venue, and B, that we could get staff back and engaged sooner rather than later to make sure that the staff were safe and not relying on any other support.
Because in your particular industry, I mean, one of the keys is ensuring that the club is run at a moment's notice when something goes wrong, keeping everything straight. Now, a number of years ago, you worked with CMBM for 14 years, and then management decided to have a change, but you ended up making that change and coming back to them. Why the switch, and why did you go back to CMBM?
Yeah, I think the switch, and most businesses, I suppose, we sort of call it in our industry a bit of an idiot tax, that if you don't sort of keep an eye out on what other opportunities are available for contracts and tender documents and things, you tend doing the same thing year in, year out. The problem that we came across, though, with making the move away from CMBM was that the structure that they had in place and the processes that they have in place is very, very thorough, and basically make sure that a lot of processes that we don't think of at the time are actually handled back of house. So some of those little things relate to consumables, where, without the CMBM processes, clubs and venues are buying toilet paper and hand soaps and things based on our own par levels and what we believe is required, where CMBM and their processes are that the staff that are on the ground 7 days a week are giving us notice periods of where those par levels and stock levels are, so that A, we're not over ordering, and B, we're not losing stock through mismanagement or misplacement or ordering the wrong items. So the assistance in those levels, particularly on a procurement perspective, are fantastic. But also their documentation and scheduling in terms of carpet cleaning, hygiene cleans, full restroom cleans, rather than sort of relying on our own internal staff, which again, as we all know, staff get busy, get tied up doing other things. CMBM is a very, very structured organisation that has that planned. If it's not required, we extend the schedule slightly, but if it is required, it's done to make sure that the customer sees the benefit of a clean, well-presented and hygienic venue.
Now, in your role as a club manager, you deal with, how many staff do you actually managing at any one time?
Probably direct staff, we have between 120 and 130 staff, but on top of that, we have the key contractors, which is our cleaning, some specialist contractors, and our security. So potentially we could have 200 engaged staff on a week-by-week basis that we're managing 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
Now, talking to some of the clients of CMBM, other clubs, they talk about the fact that the client services manager is incredibly helpful in taking the pressure off managing cleaning staff. Take us back to the floods of 2011. I mean, you are inundated. Using their 24-hour help desk, did that enable you to get things under control very quickly?
Yeah, definitely. The struggles of having in-house staff for things like major cleaning contracts is very difficult because staff from time to time are unavailable for work for various reasons. CMBM and their processes and the availability of key staff that are cross-trained and multi-trained makes those sort of times very, very seamless. Their management structure and supervisory structure is great. We won't know that there's been a change of staff for an illness or an absence. All we know is that there's somebody else that's on site, trained and knows the process and knows what to do to make sure the job gets done without a hiccup.
Now, at a time like this, when many people sign up to a particular firm, and the owner of the firm does the big sales pitch, and then you sign the contract, and you're left dealing with people who, well, leave a little bit to be desired. My understanding is that you actually work directly with Damien. He's one of your client services managers.
Yeah, Damien had a great relationship with Damien for a number of years, and even when we moved away from their services, contact was still there with Damien to make sure that we were happy with the decision that we had made. There was no animosity. I talk with Damien religiously. We have meetings every month to make sure that we're happy with the way things are going. And also, Dan and some of the other supervisory team, they're here on a 2 to 3 days a week where they talk to our key contacts on the floor to make sure that the day-to-day things are being done to a required level. And the high level that Damien and I talk about monthly without fail is encompassing all the issues that we may face through the week. The structure is great. Communication is great.
Now, one of the things that you must be challenged with in hiring contractors is that you have very strict standards to maintain the licenses that you have to operate. I understand that CMBM are very much into compliance. For example, their microfiber system that they've introduced. I mean, many cleaners come in, they probably pop into Bunnings on the way to work and grab a couple of old rags and some, brooms. But CMBM are actually meeting the compliance standards that you have to work with. Is that correct?
Yeah, very thorough. So it starts from the ground up, and basically, all of their staff are trained in chemical handling, manual handling, in lifting processes. All the equipment that they use is very, very well maintained. The material safety data sheets are on display throughout the venues, so that even if our staff are required to, do immediate spot cleans, their processes are very, very clear and transparent, so we know what we're using and how it's to be used. And recently through COVID, obviously the most important thing was the antibacterial cleans of venues and antiviral cleans. The Nanison system that they have introduced now is great. It's got a really nice sort of tea tree smell to it. And again, it's just that community confidence that people know that they walk into a venue, they can smell and see that it's well looked after and well maintained.
Now, cleaning was once thought as something you need to do, but it's cleaning. But now with COVID, it's taken on a whole new meaning. If you were starting in another venue, why would you recommend a company like CMBM? I mean, is it time to lift the standards all round?
Yeah, most definitely. I think and I'm not sort of trying to stereotype any particular patrons, but if you want to run a well-attended and well-respected venue, the number one thing we need to present well is the toilet facilities, and the number one thing that CMBM would do with any new contract that they do would be to, and majority of the time it's in their own time and their own resource, to get the venue to a good level to start with. They will come through and do a full detail clean of those key areas to make sure that when they do start a contract, that there is a base level that we accept and there is a standard that needs to be maintained. So that is a very, very key one, and particularly hospitality venues, toilets and front of house areas have to be spotless.
Yeah, I was talking to another club who used their services, and they talked about the fact that, looking at things like their microfiber system, looking at the fact that they've got a 24-hour help desk, that you've actually got a client services manager, they actually felt that they were actually starting to save money because I mean, in any industry, especially after COVID, I mean, like every other business in Queensland, you would have sustained losses and you've got to make those losses up. And, you can only make so many losses up, but savings are incredibly important. And one particular club I was talking to said that it was saving them on average because they weren't having to, micromanage the cleaners. It was saving one particular manager roughly an hour a week. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yeah, definitely their processes are very detailed. So savings in terms of restructuring their own rostering to make sure that the daytime cleaning staff are rostered on at key times when the peak trade is in place, but also the after hours cleaning team that is there is structured in a way that it overlaps the close of trade and the start of their after hours cleaning period to make sure that it is very, very efficient. So yeah, definitely savings have been made in that regard, and it also extends to procurement of the consumables throughout the venue. Yeah, the last thing any venue now wants to happen is for an outbreak and a venue to be closed for deep cleaning. And heaven forbid that does happen. Those processes have already been written and they're ready to go should that happen. So there is a very proactive sort of position ready
And
to
not
go.
like one person can't do that, can they? I mean, you're running a whole club. You don't have time to be running around chasing cleaners all over the place.
That's exactly right. Yep. So those processes are ready at the drop of a hat. We can make that call, and that's put into place within the hour. Yep.
Tim, thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you well. I hope COVID doesn't impact you anymore. And thanks for making the time to talk about CMBM Facility Services. Thank you so much.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.